him?
I can only guess. I know that it was something that just all of a sudden hit Aaron. He was getting married. He seemed to be very happy. He had a new baby, so everything was going really well for him. We know that there was events in the days leading up to McNeil getting shot that played into all of this. So I think Aaron did have some sort of a breakdown. I think he was just pushed to that breaking point by all of the events leading up to this. I think that 20 years of abuse and everything else on top of it just built up to that point. With McNeil, it shows you how good he was at what he did, because Aaron wasn't the only one who was abused into adulthood. And like Aaron's fiance said, you know, it can't go from being molestation at one point to being just, you know, a consensual sexual relationship at another point. Mm-hmm. Once you're a molest victim of someone, you're always a molest victim. Mm-hmm. So it just shows how good Daryl was at what he did, how manipulative he was at what he did. He spent every day, you know, going after Aaron or other victims. It was what he lived for, was to prey on these victims. Mm-hmm.
Daryl McNeil was?
Mm-hmm. I've talked to Daryl's ex-wife about him, and she told me about how manipulative he was, how if you tried to confront him on anything about this, that he would threaten suicide. He would, an ongoing thing with him is he would make people feel sorry for him all the time. He was just a very manipulative person, and she told me he was very good at what he did. Mm-hmm. And then I talked to other victims, and they explained to me how it could go on past adulthood, and you know, the kinds of things he would say and do. And so yeah, I've learned a lot about that, because it was all kind of confusing to me in the beginning. I had a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm. So what kinds of things were those that he would say and do to keep people sort of engaged with him?
Well, I know that he would tell some of the boys, well, you know, your friend who is also a victim, your friend would want you to do this, you know, this is what he and I did, and he would tell them all that it was a secret and you're not supposed to tell people that, and he would really drill that into them, that it's something that does not get talked about. And that's why one of the victims told me that to this day he feels guilty talking about it, even though he's a grown man in his 40s, because he feels like he's doing something wrong by talking about it. Well, I think Daryl would be the first person. I think the police, since it's their job to protect, and they were told several times, they're also accountable. And I think that everyone else that knew is also accountable. Mm-hmm. I think we all have a responsibility, and if we're going to have a system in place that's supposed to protect people, you know, we have the sheriffs and the police, and if they don't do that job, what other choice are we left with but to protect ourselves? They can't tell us, no, that it's our job to do this, you know, but then not do it and then say, well, now you're in the wrong because you had to protect yourself.
Right.
No, and that's part of how Daryl, you know, that's part of Aaron being a victim. I don't know if you know about Stockholm Syndrome, but Aaron has a lot of the symptoms of Stockholm Syndrome, where a person who is abused will start to bond with and identify with their abuser and have compassion for them, feel sorry for them, and that was the situation with Aaron and Daryl. Aaron worked for Daryl for years. They were good friends. Aaron did feel sorry for him. He did protect him in some ways. Aaron knew about the other victims. You know, he knew what Daryl was doing, but he never said anything. So that's part of the reason why Aaron never did go turn Daryl into the police. Part of it is the secret. You're not supposed to tell. And then the other part of it is Aaron has this internal conflict going on to where he's being abused by this guy, but at the same time, Aaron feels some kind of a bond and sympathy for his abuser, so he's not going to want to go turn him in. So it's all part of that. There was that recent case, that girl that was held captive in that backyard for 20 years. She could have escaped. She could have done something. Even when she was found, she tried to lie and protect him. Stockholm Syndrome. Aaron's case really isn't much different from that, except that he wasn't held physically captive by Daryl, but Daryl didn't need to because mentally he was holding Aaron captive. He had control of him. He didn't need to keep him in his backyard.
Right.
They brought that up with the gag order. Basically, they said that, if the whole cause that I started out didn't, slow down, that they would have to do a change of venue because, things being in the press or us having floats in the parades and just getting all that public attention. They brought all that up when they asked for the gag order, and that was the only time they brought up a change of venue. So it was just said that if they couldn't find a jury, then they would have to move it, but the judge did say that he would like to keep it in this county. The only other thing is that I would like work to be done in the community with the school district, and I would like teachers and parents to be trained on the warning signs, symptoms of sexual abuse. I would like more programs for the kids. I would like to know what system the community has in place right now between the school, the hospital, the police department, organizations like Project Sanctuary, because everybody needs to be communicating, and we really need to step up our programs for awareness and prevention and all that, so this doesn't happen again. Because I know that it could have been prevented because Aaron definitely displayed the warning signs when he was a kid, but the school system I don't think ever brought that up, and my parents never received any kind of education in that, so I think that the parents and the kids and the teachers and everyone needs to be more educated on it. I think I was. I think everybody was really shocked, yeah.
There was no sense, obviously sort of looking back in retrospect, there may have been warning signs, but was there just no sense at all that there was something off with Aaron?
Yeah, but we didn't attribute it to that. Now when we all look back on it, it seems so obvious that it's like, how could we not have seen it? But at the time and everything, I guess when you're so close to it, you don't see it so clearly like someone from the outside would. But yeah, looking back on it now, it just seems so obvious what it was. But the thing is that Aaron was working for Daryl and would go on fishing trips with Daryl all these years, so it was like, well, if Daryl abused him, why would he have, you would think that he would have never wanted to have been around him. He would have stayed away from him, but that wasn't the case. So I guess that was, a huge thing that would make you think that everything was fine there. Who would ever think that, your adult brother, your adult son was being abused by this guy who he's out working for and going on trips with and stuff.
Right.
So I think that's where it doesn't really make sense. And we go, no, that couldn't be.
Right.